Okay, and welcome, and today what we're going to be doing is getting at the oil pressure switch on the Suzuki Katana GSX600F. This is 1999 model, and in the Haynes Book of Lies it says you should drain all the oil out your bike first. However, if you have the correct amount in to begin with, that shouldn't be necessary, because in here, let me zoom in, because this is where we're working and your sump is down here, got your oil level. Really, you shouldn't have very much oil in there, if any at all. So first thing we need to do is get these bolts out. What size are we at? So these are 5mm. It's an Allen type. Something to note that there is a washer on there. I'm not sure if these are going to be different sizes. Probably an idea to label these up somehow. So there's no washer on this one, but it is a different size. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go clockwise. That's going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to get... Okay. So I'm going to do, we've got 5 envelopes. I'm going to label them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right, so number 1 goes in there. Number 2. It's like a magic show. Number 4. Number 5. So if I come back to this later, I'm not gonna not know where the bolts go. That's one of the problems when you've got different bolts of different lengths, is if you have to stop a job halfway through, like I have to do quite often, you come back and then it's trying to work out what goes where. So it's good to have some sort of system so you don't have that problem. Okay, there we go. So no oil. Well, there's oil on there, but there's no oil leaking everywhere. So there's no gasket, because I previously had this off and I used gasket sealant, and that has worked fairly well by the looks of things. I will be replacing it with a proper gasket now, though. So the first thing I need to do, this is what I'm looking at. This is the oil pressure switch here. Let's zoom in. So this part here, this is the actual oil pressure switch, and this connector and wire is what sends the information to the light. So I need to undo this first, and then we've got a big old nut. I'm going to try and see if I can take that off. So again, using the standard screwdriver that comes in the kit, your toolkit, I'll try and undo that. Oh. I think I'm just going to end up mothering that. It is a hex as well. Not a hex, like a nut thing. So let's see if we got something to fit that. It's quite small. I think that'll do it. Okay. So there's my top tip for that. Undo it first. I'm just going to leave, that's falling into the old cover, so I know that's going to be safe there. Okay, and I'm going to take this off. Okay, so this is a 24 nut, 24 whatever it is. I think. And that is the oil pressure switch. So now we got to test it. How do we test that? I hear you cry, and I'm looking at it to see if it's actually what that is. Okay, so I'm going to refer to the Haynes manual now to see how we test it. And wipe my hands. Should have worn gloves. Should have worn gloves. Now then, this is us going to be testing the, see if it's oil pressure switch or a problem with the wiring or even the bulb. The bulb could go. I know it's not the bulb or the wiring from my previous things, but I'm going to show you how to test this here. So first thing you do is turn the ignition on. If the oil pressure switch is working correctly, then your oil pressure switch light will come on. If it's not, then it doesn't. The way to test it is, I'm just going to turn this off so I don't waste my battery, is with the ignition on. I'll zoom in a little bit here. So the oil pressure switch, we've already removed it, and this is the connector, and all I'm going to do is just, while the ignition is on, is push that against there, like that, and when I do that we'll see what the light up in the cluster does. Just going to touch this against here. So that's me touching it against the casing, so we know that the wiring's fine. So the oil pressure switch itself, which is that, is what needs to be replaced. So I'm going to get one of those and replace it. Now then, a couple of days have passed and I have a second-hand, what's it called? Oil pressure switch, which I've just tested. That's why it's still all apart. I've had, you know, there's some oil leaking, oil coming out, so that's why I still got the drip pad. Not a lot. Just top that up after. What I've got to do now. So anyway, this works. It was £15 from eBay. Sure, the focus is probably off. Let's see. So this was £15 from eBay. Somebody selling them on eBay. Second-hand one. Apparently, a brand new one, I'm dubious about that, is 25 quid. But I'm cheap. So there we are, 15 quid. Now then, next thing I got to do is clean all this off. It's what's left of the old gasket, as you can hopefully see, is it just coming off on the gentle prodding with my nail. Get my gloves on. Now then, a new gasket for this on Wiimoto is going 4 quid. I've actually made my own. I chose to make my own because when I've bought gaskets before, I found that they, although it was, you know, it's for the right spec and everything, it just didn't seem to fit. So what I used for the gasket was some pizza box. I highly recommend Iceland cheese and tomato hot dog stuffed crust pizza. It's yummy, but you know, you can use a Crave cereal box. You can use a Crave cereal box. Other cereals are available. Pepperoni stuffed crust pizza box, that will work as well. Or if you want to be really classy, Mr. Kipling cherry bakewell box. All very viable gasket making material as long as it's nice and thin. So this is a gasket that I've built. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen the progress pics. So this is that will be it. And I'm using, for the bond, some VTech Vital Blue RTV silicone gasket maker. I'm using that to stick my paper gasket on because I want this to be a good seal because it is part of the engine itself. I was looking for the Loctite, the black stuff, but nobody seemed to have it in Swansea and I didn't want to wait days and days for it to be delivered. So my next job now is to put some sealant just around this bit here. According to the Haynes Book of Lies, that's what you should do. There wasn't any sealant on the one I took off, but just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to put this on with a bit of sealant, and then we shall go from there. So let me just give that a wipe. So let's tighten it up. Now onto the gasket. Remember I numbered up these bolts to make sure that they went back in the right place, because, you know, after a coat, generally a couple of days and I forget. Well, it's a good job I did that. So I'm just going to put a thin bead of this stuff. Just going to place that over. Gloves! Oh, gasket seal, generally it's an irritant, so if you get it on your skin or on your eyes or breathe in the vapour, it tends to be a little bit tingly. This one, according to the instructions, gives off acetic acid, which is not that strong an acid, but you obviously don't want it in your face. Okay. Right, so that's all in place. And a bit more just on this side. This is just to give it an extra, add a bit of paper, protection, because it's the paper itself which is going to create the seal by compressing and getting in any gaps. Okay. Now then, next thing I'm going to do is put the bolts through ready. Suzuki, so we had, that was number one. The one with the washer, and I'm going to put a bit of thread lock on each of these as well. This is Loctite thread locker. This is just medium thread lock, because it doesn't need to be super duper strong. And do these up a little bit. You can see some of the gasket seal squeezing out. So clean that up with a bit of terps now. Now in a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to give these a little bit more of a squeeze. As hopefully you can see, I'm not hanging off this, I'm just literally giving it a little bit more of a jimmy. Okay, and I think they'll be alright. So, I can't do anything else with the bike now for a minute, because here we are, white spirit. Just clean that little bit of excess off. And that is it. Done. So that is how to diagnose, test and replace faulty oil pressure switch on Suzuki GSX600. And just show you that it's working. I'll zoom out. Turn the ignition on, and there we are. One oil pressure light. Super! All done. So I've been David, you've been awesome, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.